I'm hoping Facebook will use this image as the still at the beginning of the video. I wanted to talk to you today about an interesting book that I'm only halfway through reading. And when my guidance said to me, order this book called Influence, I didn't look into what it was or what it meant or what it was about. I just followed what I was told. So I ordered the book. When it arrived, the little blurb at the top says, for marketers, it is amongst I'll start again. For marketers, it is among the most important books written in the last 10 years. So when it arrived, I was a bit like, why did I get told to order this book? I don't influence the psychology of persuasion. So if there's one thing that I've experienced in this life and this awakening and this even cancer, all sorts of medical ailments and what I've been told over the years, it's about the scam within the scam that is apparent in every single industry. And I mean every single industry. And when this book arrived telling me I was about to learn the psychology of persuasion, immediately I felt like, oh, I don't even want to know that, because I don't want to trick people into doing what I want them to do. But as I started reading it, something very different occurred. What it did was enlighten me even more so about how much we are being tricked into making choices in our lives. Now, I don't take this from the victim perspective. I find it very, very interesting and intriguing that these things are actually occurring all around. And until we have the education on the psychology of persuasion, we aren't quite, well, I wasn't quite aware of how deep this actually goes. Now, a couple of the studies in here, for example, one of them is about suicide. Now, it was actually proven that when they promoted isn't the right word. Well, it probably is the right word, but I will change it. So when they actually put in the newspapers about a suicide, the suicide rates jumped. So after the article was published, it almost injected an idea into somebody's head. And knowing that somebody else had taken that step gave them more reason, or kind of like the green light, to do it themselves. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean we don't tell anyone if anyone commits suicide? Or does it mean that this is occurring in many different areas other than suicide? So if we just actually think about any specific topic and wonder how much of an influence this is having on our everyday life. It actually even listed in there that accidents increased after suicide stories, because it's felt that some people didn't want their families to know that they commit suicide. So they do things like car accidents, bus accidents, plane accidents. I guess it's safe to say like the accident radar went up, or the accident meter went up after these news stories. And so it's really, really interesting to me, because things like this are coming into the field for a reason. And it's because as we're moving forward hopefully in the direction of integrity. Now, when we say that, is anybody really genuinely coming from a place of integrity? Are they ever really genuinely not somehow in it for themselves? Now, I can't speak for anyone else. I actually don't know. I actually don't know, because knowing this information now allows me to see it in a very different way. And what I'm beginning to notice is that every single avenue has this happening. Now, that may come down to two types of people: somebody who influences and somebody who is influenced. So if you were to have a think about who you are on that spectrum, do you influence others into something? And if you do, where do you get that something from? Is it from somebody that influenced you? Or is it from somewhere else? The thing is, if we want to trace back everything we believe to be true, it has a destination. It has an origin. It has somewhere that it's come from. Now, to me, this just proves to me that without intuition, we are literally just an influenced consumer. And it doesn't matter what area of your life you want to look at it from. It's everything. It even speaks in here about telling people, influencing people about the world to get them to do what a company wants them to do. They make them feel like they're doing the right thing for the greater good of humanity. Interesting, isn't it? So, where does this stop? How do we know? How do we know any of it is anything? How do we know? It's enough to drive you mental. Because how do you know that anything anyone says is not just being influenced by a company or by their own gain? You know, this is why the relationship with yourself and your intuition is paramount. And why I guess my husband says, don't believe anything unless you see it. And it's even further than that. Now I don't believe anything unless it's coming from within me. Now, I highly recommend, and I know it's backwards, I highly recommend every single person read this book. I think it should be in schools. Because it's about how our mind works. It goes way, way further back than what we realize. You know, we say it's all indoctrination. Indoctrination is indoctrination. It's like, how far back do you want to go? Like, our minds are designed and people have figured it out. Now, marketers, they're saying, hey, marketers, read this book because you can trick people into whatever you want them to do. But, you know, then let's talk about manifestation. So the people who are promoting manifestation are just, and I'm not saying, I believe in manifestation. In fact, I've seen it happen. But do I need to pay someone $1,000 to manifest my future? Maybe. Because ultimately, it is whatever you believe it is. And are your beliefs coming from somebody else's influence on you? Or are they genuinely coming from within you? And how do you figure out the difference? Now, I guess meditation is a really known way to form a relationship with yourself. And apparently there are core universal truths. To me, the one main truth is I am creating my reality. If I begin to question what is going on around me, I get answers like this book. I get shown what is going on around me. When I start to just accept what's going on and not question it, no matter where it's coming from, no matter what side it's coming from, then I stop getting answers and I sit in that truth. But if I push through it and I keep going, I get more and more layers. I get more and more levels open up. And I get to see further and further into where these levels of truth are coming from. And the power of influence. So it's going to be really interesting to find out how this book ends or what's in the second half of it. But I really felt to share. It is such a powerful book, such a powerful message. Are you being influenced, or are you influencing somebody else's theory? And do we even realize what that is? Who knows? Stick around. I'll do another one when I finish the book.